It's the business challenge that is the highest priority, and it's usually a good place to start.
Yeah, usually the most public-facing one. So we've got prioritization, we've got an auditing of that too. I love, KK, your position of people buy-ins. I think you're absolutely right. Those internal stakeholders are so key of driving change internally, and that's where most of these efficiencies begin. And then when we think about, the strategies that you've used to therefore maximize some of these cloud benefits, we normally fall naturally on cost, don't we? But it's also efficiencies, it's efficability, it's those people buy-in. So that's a nice point, and it sort of leads us quite nicely on to one of the final points, which is, how are you driving some of those benefits and maximise the benefits that either has been promised to you or you've promised to the rest of the organisation. Krishnamurthy, I'll come to you first, if I may. When we think about those benefits realised and maximised, where do you start, or where have you started?
So what happens is, in terms of getting the maximum benefits, the best way to do is to break into a different subset, maybe in an agile mode, and take each part as a project and execute it, see that particular output, and then retweak, rather than taking the entire chunk and move forward to execute. A lot of time what is being said or seen, like as KK said, unless until you have a buy-in from the business or business user agrees to the solution, whatever solutions is being implemented by a IT may not get adapted very easily. So one needs to see the output. One needs to see what is the benefit it is bringing to the table, and based on it, the next step can be taken. Because initially, we have also seen in the past, business always has a reservation for the new ideas or the innovation. But once they start seeing the results, then they themselves will come back and say, listen, you have done something like this. So can we look into another option where I have a challenge and we can, articulate it in a better way? Because most of the time, what we have seen specifically in my scenario, business, they themselves don't know what problem it is. But because they are not in a position to articulate, so everything comes up as a bottleneck, as a roadblocker. But once we start giving them a small piecemeal sort of solutions with a defined output, then the buy-in goes up. And also we, in that process, we know exactly how to curtail a cost, if at all, if we have to, or what are the other aspects which we have missed out can be incorporated for a greater success. So that is what precisely my and what we are adapting in our scenario.
I mean, I would say personally, when you look to show the benefit, you have to step away from the technology. You have to, the benefit changes depending on who you are talking to. As technologists, we are often guilty of getting lost in the technology itself. If I am speaking to somebody that only cares about the financials and only cares about the end result, then in reality, you have to be able to change your language onto the impact. What is the business outcome? I'm picking on you, Andre, just because you're sat at the table with me, on the Stand Up to Cancer piece. If whatever I'm putting in doesn't solve the problem, then it's just a project in development. It's just fun. And I think you have to go all the way up the stack, from the individuals that want to see an outcome on a particular metric, down to the individuals that are going to be responsible for implementing it, from a customer side, from us as a vendor side. And the more honest that you are, and the more honest that you are in showing the ability to solve these problems, then you can really maximize those benefits and expose them for what they are and how good they are, and the value they can show to the business. Whether it be we tell a story of freeing up individuals, but I think we need to separate the benefit from the technology that delivers that benefit. Because in reality, we have seen massive benefits in migrating technologies to a cloud-based technology, but likewise, I have worked with a vendor that has the equivalent of a Black Friday over the month of December, and there was a big push to put that into the cloud, but it stayed on premise for that, because all the work to do it on one side would have been countered in doing other work to mitigate on the other. And I think if we learn that, depending on who we speak to, and recognizing the benefits are different to each of those teams, then we can really maximize the message of the impact that we want to give.
Sounds like you've done that from experience. Andre, your perspective, cloud realization of those maximum benefits. What are your thoughts?
I agree with Nigel. The benefits actually come from what are the outcomes that the organization is trying to achieve. So for us, at the moment, we've got strategic outcomes around how we engage with our audiences, with our supporters, our volunteers, for example. That's one strategic pillar. Another one is around sustainability. How can we get better at delivering our mission while spending as little as possible on our internal costs, so that we can maximize the spend on core purpose.
So you're measuring that against internal purpose-driven metrics, almost qualitative and quantitative.
Exactly. So it's our strategic pillars that we're trying to achieve as an organization, and actually anything to do with cloud is only to serve these strategic objectives. It's not a thing in its own right. If it serves sustainability because we have more efficient processes and we can achieve the same thing at a lower cost, then that's great, and that's the end goal.
Yeah, that's a nice point, actually, Andre. Maritza, from your side, we've just heard about some of the internal pillars that one can mark against a certain solution or service like cloud. Is that the same for you in the finance sector?
Yeah, so agree. These the business KPIs that we've talked about. Choosing the right use case, etc. But then there's also the more technical operational KPIs that you want to add to that, because you want that end-to-end view. The one thing that I want to add is partnership, and how important it is to choose the right partners, because this is quite a big, complex project. Even if you're just doing a POC, it's going to be quite complex, and you want it to be a success. You want to show that benefit, and you want to give it the best chance to show the business value. So I would say you have to partner with the right people in business, like AK said. You have to partner with the right vendor. You have to partner with the right implementation partner, and you have to partner with the right people in IT. It's going to take all of those different players to make this a success. So it's definitely a team sport. So for me, it's about the partnership and making sure you've got all the right people involved.
I was just going to say that I think what everybody is saying is data is a people problem, and cloud data is a people problem as well. It takes a village to get anything done unless you're a really, really small company. And I think that's the critical part of it. Figure out who those partners are going to be, who's going to benefit from it. What's that storytelling that we can define, right? If you can get that story right and figure out what that storytelling is going to be about, then half your job is done. I'll give you an example. With a company like ours, media company in the sports space, subscriber churn, right, is really important. When did people come and watch something? When did they interact with our content? When did they go away? What do we learn from that, right? What's happening outside in this environment? If you think about that, who is churn going to be important to? Churn is going to be important to the finance people, to the business people, to the marketing people, basically everybody across the company who is doing anything in the space of business wants to know when customers are coming, when customers are leaving. So once you figure out what is that critical thing that people need to know, and let me step one step further behind this. It's not churn, it's customers. So if you learn enough about those customers, you can go to each one of these businesses and say, hey, what's your customer problem? What do you really want to learn from them? Somebody will want churn, somebody will want customer lifetime value. And then you can look at what are the technologies I could use today in order to solve that problem. So it starts out as a people problem. Data, cloud, technology today now really is a people problem.
Mm. And thank you, KK, for that sort of closing remark. We have a couple of minutes left. Andre, we start with you, so I'll close with you. A sort of final question. We have learnt in this roundtable about the complexities that these positions take, that these solutions offer. And in many ways, we've understood why that's the case, from prioritization to audit, to the team element, to buy-in, to the range of offers out there. But Andre, do you think that complexity is justified?
Absolutely.